The sun blazed over Zulomi, a village hugged by golden grasslands and whispering baobab trees. It was the season of Udoka, when the rains had blessed the earth, and the people celebrated with the dance of shadows, a ritual to honor the ancestors who guarded their harvest. Women with bodies as sturdy as ancient tree trunks gathered in the village square, their hips wrapped in beads that rattled like rain. They swayed to the thunderous drums, their laughter booming as they twirled, their feet stamping the dust into swirling clouds. But Zara, tall and slender as a spear, stood apart, her shadow a fragile line against the cracked earth. At 20 summers, she was a puzzle to her people. While the women of Zulomi prided themselves on their full figures, the sign of strength and fertility, Zara's body refused to bend to tradition. Her waist was narrow, her arms sinewy, and her legs swift as a gazelle's. Skinny legs can't shake the earth, sang the women, their voices sharp as thorn bushes. They pointed at Zara, their laughter echoing. Go fetch water, little twig. Zara's mother, Amara, waved her over. Daughter. Bring the cassava to the elders, quickly. Amara's voice was kind, but her eyes darted nervously toward Mamaduka, the chief's wife, who watched like a vulture. Zara hoisted the woven basket of cassava onto her head, her muscles trembling. Mamaduka snorted, her triple chin quivering. Look at her. The wind will pluck her up and drop her in the river. What man would want a wife who cannot even carry a child? The women cackled, their bellies shaking. For two, the village's most admired dancer, smirked. Maybe the ancestors made her wrong. A joke. Zara's face burned. She hurried to the elder circle, where her father, Jengo, sat sharpening his spear. He glanced at her, his brow furrowed. Eat more, Zara, he grumbled. You look like a hungry spirit. Even the goat side are your bones. That night, the village feasted on nyamachoma, a juicy roasted goat, and ugali as soft as clouds. Zara picked at her food, the peanut stew sticking in her throat. Around the fire, girls her age boasted of suitors and future weddings. I marry a chief's son, bragged for two, slapping her thick thighs. He'll build me a hut with 10 rooms. Zara stared into the flames. Tomorrow was the moon festival, where unmarried girls danced to win their ancestors' favor and catch the eye of a husband. Only the strong-bodied please the spirits, the elders always said. Zara's knees were still bruised from last year's dance, where she tripped over her own feet, earning the nickname Stumbling Antelope. As the village slept, Zara crept to the river Lomi, where fireflies flickered like fallen stars. She dipped her toes in the cool water, humming a song her grandmother had taught her. Suddenly, the reeds rustled. Why do you sing to the river, little twig? Zara spun around. Nana Sa, the village's ancient seer, emerged from the shadows. Her skin was cracked like dry earth, and her eyes gleamed like moonlight on a blade. Around her neck hung a necklace of crocodile teeth and dried berries. I don't belong here, Zara whispered. Nana Sa chuckled, a sound like wind through dry grass. Foolish child. The river does not envy the mountain. The hawk does not mock the snake. You are the storm they do not see coming. She pressed a mango seed into Zara's palm. Plant this where the baobab's shadow touches the river at dawn. What grows will show your path. The next morning, Zara knelt where the baobab's shadow stretched like a giant's hand. She buried the seed and poured river water over it. Within moments, a green shoot erupted, spiraling into a sapling with leaves shaped like spears. A tree from the gods, cried a passing hunter. By sundown, the village gathered, murmuring in awe. Mamaduka sneered. More magic tricks. You think this would make you special? But Nana Sa stepped forward, her voice slicing the air. This tree is Mti Womoyo, the tree of heart. Its roots will decide Zara's fate. The crowd fell silent. Zara touched a leaf, and the tree shivered, its branches curling toward the horizon beyond Zulomi. The forest swallowed Zara whole as she ran, its canopy stitching itself tightly above her. Trees older than time groaned and creaked, their bark etched with symbols no villager dared to decipher. The air here was thick with the smell of wet soil and crushed herbs, and the shadows seemed to breathe. Zara stumbled over roots that curled like skeletal fingers, her heart pounding. Behind her, the distant laughter of the village women still clawed at her ears. Little twig. Ghost child. She stopped at a clearing where moonlight pierced the leaves like silver needles. In the center sat Nana Sa, the seer, hunched over a mortar filled with glowing green paste. Fireflies haloed her head, and around her neck hung a pouch pulsing faintly, like a heartbeat. "Why do you run from the sun, child?" Nana Sa asked without looking up. Her voice was a rasp, yet it carried the weight of 1,000 stories. Zara wiped her tears, her voice trembling. "I'm a shadow. The village says I'm cursed. Even the children throw stones at my hut." Nana Sa laughed, the sound crackling like dry kindling. "Cursed? Huh? The lioness does not envy the elephant size. She knows her claws are meant to hunt." She slammed her pestle into the mortar, and the green paste fled like lightning. "You were born to run, Zara. Not to rot in a village that fears what it cannot understand." Zara flinched as Nana Sa seized her wrist, pressing a shriveled mango seed into her palm. It hummed faintly, as if alive. "When the storm comes," the seer hissed, "hold this to your ear. The wind will whisper its true name and yours." But the moon festival, Zara began, thinking of the drums, the judgmental stares, the suitors who turned away. "Is a pit of scorpions," Nana Sa interrupted. "Your dance lies there." She pointed beyond the trees, where jagged mountains beat the horizon. "The ancestors have woven your path with threads of fire. Will you burn or shine?" Suddenly, the forest shuddered. Leaves rained down as a guttural roar split the air. Zara froze. Emerging from the undergrowth was a leopard, its coat dappled with shadows, eyes glowing like molten gold. It snarled, fangs glistening. Nana Sa didn't flinch. "Run, gazelle." Zara's legs moved before her mind could protest. She sprinted, the leopard's hot breath on her neck. Vines slashed her arms, thorns tore her dress, but she flew over roots and rocks, her thin body slicing through the dark like a blade. The seed burned in her fist, and as she ran, the wind screamed in her ears. "Zulmi! Zulmi!" The leopard lunged. Zara dove behind a tree, clutching the seed to her chest. The beast circled, sniffing, until its gaze locked on the mango seed. Then, impossibly, it bowed its head and melted back into the shadows. Panting, Zara uncurled her fingers. The seed had split, revealing a tiny sprout shaped like a spearhead. Nana Sa appeared beside her, grinning. "The leopard does not hunt what the ancestors protect. You passed its test." "Test?" Zara gasped. "The forest knows your heart. Now you must know it." Nana Sa gestured to the sprout. "Plant this where the world ends and begins. There, you will find your dance." "But where?" "Follow the storm," the seer said, vanishing into the trees. "And never look back." The sun dipped below the baobabs, staining the sky blood red as Zara crept toward Fatu's hut, a crooked shack reeking of burnt herbs and desperation. Fatu, the village's plumpest maiden, lounged on a leopard pelt, her arms jangling with copper bangles. She grinned, her teeth stained from chewing kola nuts. "Oh, little twig. Finally ready to feel your bones." Zara's voice trembled. "The moon festival is next week. I need to be like them." Fatu snorted, stirring a pot of bubbling black liquid over a fire. "You think a few sips will turn reeds into roots?" She ladled the brew into a gourd carved with twisted serpents. "But drink this. It will fatten you like a rainy season goat. If you survive." The potion smelled like rotten eggs and betrayal. Zara gagged but gulped it down, the sludge coating her throat. Fatu's laughter chased her into the night. "Come back tomorrow, if you can stand." Days blurred into a nightmare. Zara drank the poison each dawn, hiding behind the cassava fields. Her stomach writhed like a nest of scorpions. Shadows paused at the edges of her vision, were the trees laughing. By the third day, Her reflection in the river showed hollow eyes and cracked lips. Still, she drank. On the 5th day, the world tipped sideways. Zara stumbled to the river Lomi, her legs buckling as she vomited green liquid. Froth speckled her lips. A spider scuttled over her hand, its web glinting in the moonlight. Weak, 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 it seemed to hiss. Foolish girl. Nana Sa emerged from the reeds, her crowfeather cloak sweeping the ground. She hauled Zara onto her lap, forcing bitter ginger root and mint between her teeth. Your body screams no, but your pride plugs your ears. Chanting in the old tongue, Nana Sa painted symbols on Zara's forehead with mud. Iku Obu, Iku F. Bones rise, poison falls. Zara's fever broke at dawn. She woke shivering, Nana Sa grinding herbs beside her. Why, save me, she croaked. Nana Sa's eyes gleamed. A spider's web is weak until it dances with the rain. You think Fatu's poison was chance? The ancestor sent her to test your hunger. She pressed the spider's silk thread into Zara's palm. This brew would have killed a lesser spirit. But you? You swallowed shadows and spat them out. Now you know, your strength isn't in your flesh. It's in your fire. As Zara staggered home, villagers whispered. She looks like Death's cousin. Fatu sneered, but her hands shook, had the potion failed. That night, Zara dreamt of the mango seed Nana Sa once gave her. It paused in her fist, its roots digging into her veins, whispering, the storm is coming. Grow. The moon festival erupted in a blaze of torchlight and drumbeats. The village square throbbed with energy, fire jugglers spun arcs of flame, storytellers chanted tales of ancient warriors, and girls Zara's age toured in dresses bright as tropical birds. Their hips swayed under layers of indigo and crimson Kent cloth, their ankles rattling with copper bells. Zara stood at the edge of the crowd, her own dress shimmering like liquid gold, its threads woven by her mother's trembling hands. Cowrie shells clinked in her braids, a silent rebellion. Look at her, sneered Fatu, flanked by her friends. She wraps bones in sunlight. Even the ancestors are laughing. The women cackled, their laughter sharp as hyena barks. Zara's throat tightened, but she lifted her chin. Nana Sa's words echoed, your dance lies beyond these hills. As the drummers pounded the rhythm of the leopard stalk, the girls formed a circle. Fatu stepped forward first, her hips rolling like storm waves, her feet stamping so hard the dust coughed into the air. The crowd cheered. True daughter of Solomi. Zara hesitated, then slipped into the circle. She moved differently, not with thunderous stomps, but with quick, light steps, her arms slicing the air like reeds in the wind. The villagers fell silent. Stop her. Marmaduke hissed. She's insulting the ancestors. But Zara kept dancing, her body a flicker of flame. The drums seemed to change, matching her rhythm, a faster, wilder beat. The elders exchanged uneasy glances. The drums, they listened to her, one muttered. Suddenly, a flash blinded her. Kofi, the stranger, stood at the edge of the crowd, a black box, a camera, clutched in his hands. He wore a city man's jacket patch with pockets, his locks tied back with a leather cord. His eyes, sharp and curious, followed her every move. When the dance ended, the crowd buzzed, not with cheers, but whispers. Zara fled, humiliated, to the mango grove. But footsteps crunched behind her. You move like fire, a voice said. She spun. Kofi stood there, smiling. Up close, he smelled of ink and strange spices. In the city, he said, they'd call you the gazelle. City. Zara frowned. The word felt dangerous, like a snake's hiss. A place of tall stones that kiss the sky, Kofi explained. Where beauty wears 1,000 faces. Fat, thin, tall, small, all are art. He held up his camera. This captures stories. Yours, it's a storm waiting to break. Zara touched her cowrie shells. The village says I'm cursed. Kofi laughed. Cursed? No. You're a question they're too afraid to ask. He pointed to her dress. This gold. It's not hiding you. It's screaming, I am here. Before she could reply, Marmaduke's voice screeched across the grove. Stranger. You poison our girls with lies. Kofi pressed a torn map into Zara's hand. Find me at the baobab with 2 trunks at dawn. Bring your courage and your dance. As he vanished, Fatu appeared, her face twisted. Think you're special. The city will chew you to dust. Zara clutched the map. That night, she knelt by the river, the water reflecting not her face, but a gazelle, running, endless, free. The village of Zulomi woke to chaos. News of Zora's plan to leave had spread like wildfire, carried by the spiteful tongues of Marmaduke and her followers. By dawn, the entire village crowded the square, their voices a storm of anger and fear. Mothers clutched their children close, men gripped spears, and elders scowled from their stools. The air reeked of burnt herbs and betrayal. Marmaduke stood atop a grinding stone, her vast silhouette blotting out the rising Sunday. The city would chew her bones and spit out her ghost, she bellowed, waving a gourd filled with mbayu, bitter herbs used to ward off evil. She abandons our ways. She insults the ancestors. The crowd roared, shaking fists and stomping feet. Zora's father, Django, stood rigid at the edge of the square, his spear trembling in his grip. His jaw clenched as Zara approached, her small bundle of belongings tied to her back. You shame me, he growled, though his eyes glistened. My daughter, running like a thief in the night. I'm not running from you, Baba, Zara said softly. I'm running toward what I am. Before Django could reply, Marmaduke descended on them, her breath hot with fury. She thrust the gourd of Mayu at Zora's face. Drink, she demanded. Purge the city's poison from your tongue. Zora recoiled, but Amora stepped between them, her voice still. Enough, Marmaduke. My daughter's path is hers to walk. The crowd gasped, no one challenged the chief's wife. Amora turned to Zara, cupping her face in calloused hands. Go, daughter, she whispered. Outrun the storm. But carry this, she pressed a woven bracelet into Zora's palm, a family heirloom dyed with indigo and bloodroot. It held your grandmother's courage. Now it holds yours. Marmaduke shrieked, snatching the bracelet and hurling it into the cooking fire. Let the ancestors judge her. The villagers surged forward, but a thunderous crack split the air. Nana Sa emerged from the smoke of the fire, her crowfeather cloak billowing. The crowd froze. In her hand, she held a charred bracelet, untouched by flames. Fools. Nana Sa spat. You fear what the gods have blessed. She clasped the bracelet onto Zora's wrist, then pressed the mango seed into her other hand. The seed pulsed faintly, like a tiny heartbeat. When doubt haunts you, Nana murmured, hold this to your ear. The wind will sing your true name. Django stepped forward, his spear clattering to the ground. For a heartbeat, Zora thought he'd embrace her. Instead, he yanked a leather pouch from his neck, filled with soil from their ancestral land. Take this, he muttered. So the earth remembers you. The gesture broke the crowd's spell. Traitor, a man shouted. She spits on our traditions. Zora backed away, her heart pounding. As she reached the village gates, the wind stirred, a hot, insistent gust that tugged at her braids. It carried the scent of rain and distant metal, of strange spices and roaring engines. Zulomi's pride is not your prison, the wind hissed. Run, gazelle. Run. But Marmaduke lunged, gripping Zora's arm. You will die out there. Zora wrenched free, and as she did, the mango seed slipped from her hand. It struck the earth and sprang to life. Vines erupted, tangling Marmaduke's legs, thorns blooming like teeth. The crowd screamed, scattering as the wild growth snaked toward them. Nana Sa cackled. The ancestors have spoken. Zora didn't look back. She ran, past the withered baobab, past the river where she'd wept, into the red-orange haze of dawn. The wind roared louder now, howling like a pack of wolves. 3 days later, Zora stood at the edge of the savannah of whispers, where the grass grew taller than men and unseen creatures hissed in the heat. The city's skyline loomed in the distance, a jagged shadow. Her water gourd was empty, her feet blistered, but the mango seed hummed in her palm. She lifted it to her ear. Qui. Not the wind. A bird, a crimson-winged hornbill, swooped low, screeching. It circled her once, then darted toward the city. Zara smiled. Somewhere ahead, Kofi waited. Somewhere ahead, her dance began. The city of Korofina swallowed Zara whole. Buildings clawed at the sky, their glass faces reflecting the sun like angry gods. Neon signs buzzed and flickered, painting the streets in garish pinks and greens. The air tasted of diesel smoke and fried akara balls, and the ground vibrated with the thunder of 1,000 footsteps. Zara stumbled, clutching Kofi's arm as motorcycles zipped past, their riders shouting in a language sharp as broken pottery. Breathe, gazelle, Kofi laughed, steadying her. This is your new jungle. Here, even the rats wear gold. He led her through a maze of alleyways where vendors hawked dried fish, counterfeit perfumes, and SIM cards. A man in a neon green suit hissed, "City magic," waving vials of glowing liquid. A woman balancing a tub of jollof rice on her head shouted, "Hungry, pretty girl. Eat before the wind steals you." Zara's heart raced. This is where I belong. Madame Iriti's modeling agency loomed like a concrete leopard, its windows tinted black. Inside, girls with legs like palm trees and skin polished to a shine lounged on leather couches, scrolling phones dripping with charms. Their eyes cut to Zara, sharp as knives. This is your discovery, Kofi. Madame Iriti sneered, her stiletto heels clacking like hyena teeth. She wore a pantsuit made of oso oak fabric, her hair coiled into a silver tower. She's a twig in a forest of mahogany. Kofi crossed his arms. Twigs catch fire fastest. Watch. Madame Iriti snorted but snapped her fingers. A bony woman with a measuring tape around her neck yanked Zara into a room lined with mirrors. Walk, she barked. Zara froze. Walk how? In Zulomi, walking meant dodging snakes and balancing water pots. The trainer sighed. Like you own the earth. Stride. Zara took a step, too stiff. The girls outside giggled. Village rat, one hissed. Another fake swooned, "Oh no, a goat is chasing me." Days blurred into nights. Zara learned to walk like a storm, hips forward, chin up, pose like a queen, eyes half-lidded, lips parted, and stare like a leopard hunting, sharp, hungry, alive. But the city girls sabotaged her, slipping pebbles into her shoes, accidentally spilling coffee on her dresses. Ignore them, Kofi said, handing her a chapati wrapped in newspaper. They fear your fire. One night, exhausted, Zara slumped on her narrow bed in a cramped dormitory. The city's lights bled through the window, and the mango seed around her neck pulsed warmly. She pressed it to her ear. Remember the river, the wind whispered, not the city's stale breath, but the clean, wild gust of home. Suddenly, the room filled with the sound of rushing water. Zara's reflection in the mirror rippled, and for a heartbeat, she saw herself dancing at the moon festival, her golden dress blazing. You are the storm, Nana Essay's voice echoed. The next morning, during a photo shoot in a studio choked with fake plants, Madame Iriti demanded, "Give me fierce." Zara closed her eyes. Be the gazelle. Be the river. When she opened them, her gaze burned. She didn't pose, she moved, leaping onto a prop rock, her arms arcing like wings. The photographer gasped. Yes. Like a warrior goddess. The city girl ceded. She's doing tribal rubbish, one spat. But Kofi grinned. Tribal, he said. That's magic. Madame Iriti watched silently, her manicured fingers tapping. That night, Zara found a note slipped under her door. Meet me at the midnight market. Wear this. Beneath it lay a dress, not of city silk, but Kent cloth dyed the red of Zulomi soil. Backstage at Lagos Fashion Week, chaos reigned. Models with skin glazed in glitter and gowns like molten metal darted between racks of clothes, while stylists shouted orders like war generals. Zara stood frozen in a corner, her gown of golden chains weighing heavy on her shoulders. Each link clicked like a tiny ghost of Zulome's river stones. The chains coiled around her body, leaving trails of light on her dark skin, a warrior's armor, Kofi had called it. Madame Iriti stormed over, her perfume a cloud of rose and danger. Don't trip. Don't blink. Be the flame, she hissed, adjusting Zara's headpiece, a crown of twisted copper wires and eagle feathers. And smile like you're not plotting murder. The music began, a deep, primal drumbeat that rattled Zara's bones. The curtain parted. A wall of heat hit her, camera flashes, screams, the sour tang of champagne. For a heartbeat, she was back in Zulome Square, villagers jeering. Her legs turned to mud. The lioness doesn't envy the elephant, Nana Essay's voice boomed in her mind. She knows her claws. Zara's fingers brushed the mango seed hidden beneath her chains. It pulsed, warm and alive. She stepped forward. The crowd fell silent. Zara didn't walk. She sank into the runway, her bare feet pressing the polished wood like it was Zulome's soil. The chains roared with every step, clink-clank, clink-clank, a storm made metal. Halfway down the catwalk, she froze. The drumbeat faltered. Then, she leaped. It wasn't a model's pose. It was the gazelle's flight, a dance from her village, a spin, a kick, her arms slicing the air like blades. The chains exploded into music, 1,000 raindrops kissing the earth. The crowd erupted. Cameras flashed like lightning. A little girl in the front row stood on her seat, shrieking, "Mama, she's magic." Designers lunged at the edge of the runway, their voices tangled. Who is she? Book her for Milan. That walk, it's like she's fighting ghosts. Madame Iriti's stern mask cracked. She mouthed, again. Zara turned, her feathers catching the light like fire. This time, she ran, not a stiff, practiced stride, but a wild sprint. The chains fell away as she moved, one by one, clattering to the floor until only the copper crown remained. By the final step, she stood barefoot in a pool of gold, breathing hard, her chest heaving. The silence lasted 3 heartbeats. Then, the room exploded. Backstage, Kofi grinned as designers mobbed Zara. "Meet Zara of Zulome," he announced, tossing her a water bottle. "The girl who dances with storms." Madame Iriti stepped forward, her voice uncharacteristically soft. "You changed the game." She flicked a chain with her manicured nail. "Tomorrow, the world will beg for your name." Zara touched her crown, now dented and glorious. "My name is Zara," she said simply. "And I don't beg." As she left, a designer in a snakeskin coat cornered her. "Your work, what's it called?" Zara smiled. "The Dance of No Fear." Later, in her tiny apartment, Zara hung the copper crown by the window. The city lights blurred into Zulome stars. She pressed the mango seed to her ear. "You burn bright, gazelle," the wind whispered. "Now teach them how to shine." Fame came like a hurricane, ripping through Zara's life. Her face glowed on billboards above Corofina, her name etched in lights taller than baobabs. She danced at parties in towers of glass, where men in suits that shimmered like fish scales offered her champagne in cups thinner than eggshells. They called her the Golden Storm and Africa's Gazelle, but their smiles never reached their eyes. One night, after a show in Dubai, Zara sat alone in a hotel suite larger than her entire village. A silver platter of jollof rice, cold and untouched, sat before her. Her stylist, Lola, hovered nervously. "You have to eat, no? Look at your ribs, they are writing their own story." Zara pushed the plate away. The spices smelled wrong, too sweet, too foreign. "I want to vanish," she whispered, staring at her reflection in the gold-plated mirror. Her cheekbones jutted like cliffs, her eyes shadowed. "Gazelle," the world called her. But gazelles belonged to the savannah, not cages of concrete and flashbulbs. Kofi found her hours later beneath a neon-painted palm tree in the hotel's rooftop garden. The tree's fake fronds glowed pink, their plastic leaves rattling in the wind. Zora's tears glistened under the artificial light. "You miss home," Kofi said, handing her a calabash of hibiscus tea, a taste of Zulomi he'd smuggled in his bag. Zara sipped, the tangy sweetness sharp on her tongue. "They cut my name into pieces. Giesel. Zore. None of it fits." She gripped the mango seed around her neck. "In the village, I was too thin. Here, I'm air. Something they photograph but never hold." Kofi sat beside her. "You're the bridge, Zara. The city and the savannah, they need both." "But what do I need?" Her voice cracked. Before he could answer, her phone buzzed. "Madam Iriti. Emergency fitting. New York wants you in feathers and diamonds tomorrow." Days bled together. Zara walked runways in Paris, Tokyo, Lagos, her body a puppet for silk and sequins. At a shoot in Cairo, she collapsed mid-stride, the desert heat fusing with her fever. The crew panicked. "She's ghost," a makeup artist whispered. That night, Zara lay in a white hospital room, needles in her veins. A doctor scolded, "Your body is a drum with no skin. Eat." But when they brought her city food, smoothies like muddy water, salad with no soul, she gagged. Where was the fire of home? The spice of laughter? On a rainy midnight in London, Zara stumbled into a cramped African market hidden beneath a subway tunnel. The air smelled of smoked fish and plantains. A vendor in a Ghana must-go bag recognized her. Golden Storm. Try my suya, it bites back." Zara devoured the spicy skewered meat, tears streaming. "How much?" The vendor waved her off. "For you? Free. You make our mothers proud." As she left, he pressed a kola nut into her palm. "For strength. The city eats weak hearts." Back in Korofina, Zara stood on her balcony, the kola nut and mango seed clutched together. The wind howled, carrying a familiar whisper. "Come home, gazelle. The storm is tired." She dialed Kofi. "Book me a ticket." "To Zulomi." He paused. "For how long?" "Long enough to remember my name." The sun hung low over Zulomi as a convoy of dusty SUVs rumbled into the village, their engines growling like restless lions. Zara stepped out, her city heels sinking into the red earth. Her wrist glittered with gold bangles, but her feet were bare, a promise to herself. The villagers froze. Goats scattered. Children peeked from behind huts, eyes wide as moons. Mama Duka barged forward, her voice a saw blade. "Look at her. City dust scraped her bones clean. She's a ghost with gold." She spat into the dirt, narrowly missing Zora's shadow. But the children erupted, swarming Zara like bees to nectar. "Teach us to walk like fire," they chanted, mimicking her runway strut, their tiny hips swaying wildly. A boy tugged her dress, a blend of city silk and Zulomi's Kent, giggling, "Did you fight dragons, Auntie Zara?" Zara laughed, the sound bright and unfamiliar even to her. "No dragons. Just storms." At the village square, the elders sat beneath the tree of voices, its branches heavy with carved ancestral masks. Zara faced them, her back straight, her father Django lurking in the shadows, arms crossed. "I was told my body was wrong," Zara began, her voice steady as the river in dry season. "But this wrong outran thieves in Lagos. This wrong carried me across oceans." She held up her mango seed, now cracked and sprouting. "The city tried to shrink me, but Zulomi's roots are deep." The elders exchanged glances. Elder Chibuza, his face a map of wrinkles, stood. "We misjudged you. The ancestors whisper your name now. They say you fly." A girl edged forward, Lomi, her legs stick thin, her eyes pools of hope. "Can I be like you?" Zara knelt, dust blooming on her dress. She unclasped a gold bangle, placing it on Lomi's wrist. "You already are. But wear this to remember, your legs will outrun their words." That night, the village feasted. Zara danced the gazelle's flight not on a runway, but on Zulomi's sacred ground, drums pounding like the heartbeat of the earth. Women who once sneered now swayed beside her, their laughter tentative but true. Even Mamaduka grudgingly accepted a plate of suya from Zara's hands. As fireflies winked, Nana Ese appeared, her crow cloak merging with the night. You planted storms, child. Now watch them grow. Zara touched her sprouting seed. Somewhere, a hyena howled, or was it laughter? The house of roots rose proudly at the edge of Sulomi, its walls woven from bamboo and sun-dried clay, its roof crowned with palm leaves. Zara had built it with city gold and village hands, carving the doorframe with symbols of gazelles, storms, and mango seeds. Inside, the air buzzed with laughter. Girls hunched over slates, tracing letters with chalk. Boys drummed rhythms on overturned pots. In the garden, tiny fingers pressed yam cuttings into the soil, whispering, "Grow strong, grow sweet." On opening day, the village gathered. Zara knelt before Lomi, the shy girl with stick-thin legs, and tied a bracelet of dried mango seeds around her wrist. When doubt haunts you, Zara said, hold this to your ear. The wind will sing your name. Lomi frowned. What if? I'm scared. Zara smiled. Then dance. Fear hates happy feet. As dusk fell, the village feasted. Fires crackled, roasting plantains and goat meat. The air smelled of smoked peppers and pride. When the drums began, boom be boom, Zara kicked off her sandals and stepped into the circle. This time, she didn't dance the stiff runway strut. She danced the ekombi, her ancestors' dance, a wall of sharp kicks, spins, and clapping hands. Her legs, once mocked as skinny sticks, sliced the air like machetes, fast and fierce. The drummers chanted. Skinny legs shake the earth. Zara's feet chase her what? Gazelle, gazelle, outrun the night. Turn your shadow into light. The children shrieked, mimicking her moves, their bony limbs flailing. Even Mamaduka swayed, her hips grudgingly keeping time. Nana Ese sat by the fire, her crow-feather cloak blending with the smoke. When Zara collapsed beside her, sweating and grinning, the old seer cackled. Told you, gazelle. Thorns grow flowers. Zara glanced at the house of roots, where Lomi now toured with her friends, the mango seed bracelet gleaming. Will it be enough? Nana Ese poked the flames with a stick. You planted a forest in their hearts. Now let the storms come. Years later, travelers would speak of Zulomi's house of dreams, where girls with skinny legs and boys with quiet voices learned to roar. And in the city, billboards still glowed with Zara's face, but now, beside her, stood Lomi, her smile bold, her wrist jangling with mango seeds.